Hello, it's the Imperfect Gardener here, and today I want to talk about gardening for weight loss and gardening for overweight people. I am extremely overweight, and you can see that by the size of me. I'll stand up a little bit. Here I am. I'm a large woman, okay? If you want to see more, look at some of my other videos. You can see me running a rototiller, big as day, and I have decided that I've had gardens before, but sometimes I have a nice big garden. I grow lots of things in it, and then I don't eat them all because I'm too busy eating ice cream and potato chips and things that aren't good for me. So I have decided this is the year for change. I've added to my garden. I used to do lots and lots of tomatoes and fewer of other things. This year, I'm still doing lots of tomatoes, but I am adding broccoli, cauliflower, lots of different lettuces, spinach, kale, Swiss chard, green beans. Some of those I grew before, but some of those are new to me this year. Carrots, and I'm having more of those things. Peppers, more of those than I used to have. Making more space for them because I want to eat them. And my goal this year is that I will garden. I'll work hard in the garden, and being out here working every day is going to help me get my energy up. Just in planting the garden so far this year, it's been difficult. My knees have been really sore the past 4 or 5 days. I've had to take Motrin. If you're just starting in your garden and you're overweight, I would suggest that, yeah, you might have to take some ibuprofen for a few days when your muscles are sore, because they're going to get sore, especially if you're not used to doing this kind of work. So just the bending and stretching, I can tell you the back of my legs have been very, very sore from bending over constantly. My weight is such that I can't even, at this point, I don't feel comfortable kneeling down in the garden, even to pull weeds and stuff, to kneel down on my knees. I think it would be too much stress for me right now and would make my knees in really bad shape. So what I have been doing instead is a lot of bending straight over. I also use raised rows in my garden, which raises the dirt up about this much, and I'll show you a picture of that in a minute. Having those raised rows allows me to, when I'm out here gardening and pulling weeds, I don't have to bend over quite so far as if I was on flat. So my feet basically are about this much shorter than the place that I am pulling out weeds. That makes a difference. It helps me to be able to just bend down and pick the weeds out and pick, and bend over and pick, rather than kneeling down on my knees to pick everything. But it has been stress on my knees just this past week. I've been taking ibuprofen for a couple of days. Just going up and down the steps in my house has been killing me. However, just that bending over and stretching the back of my legs, already I'm feeling greater strength in my legs. Even though my knees have been sore, and they were sore really bad for a couple of days, today they're actually starting to feel a little better. And I'm feeling that stretching at the back of my legs. I'm feeling like I'm a little more limber than I've been in a while. So just the movement, just being able to move and get some limberness going. You're using your arms with your shovel and your hoe. You're getting a workout. It's not an aerobic workout when you're working in the garden usually, except like raking up rows of dirt. When you're pulling weeds, you're often not getting an aerobic workout. However, you could make it so. If you pulled real fast and kept going really fast, your heart would get pumping. For me, the fact that I'm as overweight as I am, I think just the movement, the stretching, the bending is going to help me, even if it's not a full aerobic workout. Being in that garden, bending, stretching, I am getting movement that I wasn't getting before, and that's helping me, and it's making me feel better. I also think for people who are overweight, being in the sun is so good for you, especially you can get a little depressed when you're overweight, or some people who have depression end up overweight because they're depressed. Getting out in the sunshine is excellent for you. So I'm working on that, and that's helping me. Just being in the sun is making me feel great. What else did I want to say today for this first video? I plan on eating those vegetables this year. I plan on eating them with all my meals, and I think, growing them myself is going to make them tasty and good. I'm going to be proud of myself, and it's going to help me. I have got to make a change in my life. I need to lose You know, if I lost 100 pounds, I would feel better about myself, but I really could easily lose 150 pounds. If I lost 150 pounds, I would still be in a range that might be considered slightly overweight. I might still be 10, 20 pounds overweight by some people's standards, but by my standards, if I lost 150 pounds, I'd be in great shape. I'd be feeling really good, and being able to do the things that I want to do. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do gardening for weight loss. I'm going to eat the food that I grow in my garden. I am going to learn about how to cook the food that I grow in my garden. I'm using YouTube a lot. I've been looking at videos of people, how they preserve and freeze the vegetables that they grow for later use. I've been looking at videos of, you know, how do you use, what else can you do with a radish besides putting it on your salad? I don't know. What kind of recipes can you do with your zucchini? I just want to learn, and I figure even if I just tried one new thing a week, one new recipe to use one of my vegetables, it'd be great. A lot of the stuff I'm growing, though, can be eaten raw, and it will be fabulous for me. So a couple of tips, though. Right now, as you can see, the sun is beating down on me. Oh, I'm exhausted. I can sit back a minute. I have been only out here for, probably about 15, 20 minutes. I've been taking care of some of my tomatoes that got hugely stressed when I put them out here, trying to add some compost and take care of those tomato plants because they've been sad. The leaves got a little white. I didn't harden them off well enough, so that's what I've been doing right now. I waited until, you know, I wanted to come out earlier in the day even, but it's like 80-something degrees today. I may have already said that, but between the hours, if you're really hefty like me, I really think you need to stay away from the hours between 11 o'clock and 1:30 or 2 o'clock. Really 11 to 2 would be good hours to stay away from. Once, maybe you could work 11 to 11:30, but I'm telling you, once that sun gets up in the mid-sky, you are putting extra stress on yourself by being out there in that heat of the midday. And when you are overweight, that's not what you need. You need to be working in the garden at times that you're comfortable and that it's easier for you to do. Not putting extra stress on your body, because you do not want to have a heart attack, obviously. I am in shape as far as, you know, I've had a physical recently. They've checked my heart. Everything looks very good. I'm not diabetic yet. Oh, every year though, every year when they want me to do that blood test, I get freaked out and I think it's going to come back diabetic. It's going to come back diabetic. I don't want to be a diabetic, but it's going to come back diabetic. Not so far. So I decided I got one more year of not being diabetic here. I need to use that year and take care of myself. So again, back to tips. Boy, I'm just rambling about myself today. Back to tips for working in the garden. One thing that I do is I try not to work in those peak hours. I try to stay away from those and avoid them. Really, the best time to work in the garden is first thing in the morning. You know, if you're an early riser, get out there between 7 and 10 a.m. It's great times to work. Some people like to get out at 6 a.m. I'm not usually up quite that early in the garden, but I'm going to try this year. I'm a school teacher by trade, so I have a few more weeks of school, and I'm going to try getting out here a little bit some of those early mornings, get up around 6, come out, work in the garden for about an hour, and then shower and go to work. That would help me a lot. And just to come out and pull some weeds that morning, get me a little bit of a workout doing that. And then the other good time for me right now will be later in the evening when I get home from work, and most of you probably work as well outside the home. I don't know if you do work outside the home. In the evening, wait until it's around 5, 6 o'clock. Things have cooled down. The sun's a little bit lower in the sky than it is now. Because right now, like I said, it's about 2:30, and it's still, that sun is pretty hot on me right now. My garden is in full sun most of the day. So you need to think about where your garden is and how much sun it's in as well. When it gets to be about 6 o'clock out here, about 6 o'clock, the neighbors have a tree over here that will shadow me. When it gets to be about 6, maybe 7, boy, I need to look at that and see exactly when that time is. I'm not sure if it's 6 or 7 o'clock. It's probably close to 7, 6:30 or 7. I get a nice shadow that comes all the way across the garden, all the way down, except it doesn't quite cover the corn section, but it covers most of my garden. And coming out at that time in the evening is perfect, because then I'm going to be out of the hot, hot sun. I get a little shade to work in the garden, and so my body won't be quite so stressed as it is if I'm out here in the middle of the day. So again, be careful about the time you come out to work in the garden so that you don't overstress your body when you're just beginning. then let's get to some other tips, huh? Because I'm a talker. Yeah, I'm a real talker. I use this. Some people use hats, especially if you are going to be working in the sun, which does happen sometimes. A nice hat will just with my hand like that. Look at how much that shades the sun. So you got a little baseball cap or a hat, you know, one of those pretty little gardening hats. My problem is I do get so hot and I sweat so much, and I feel like when I put a hat on, I just sweat more. I don't think it keeps me from getting hot. So what I do is I wear the old-fashioned headband, bandana, whatever you call it. Take one of these, I put it on like I'm a weekend warrior from 1980 or something, and I have my hair up always when I'm working in the garden. I never keep it down. I have long hair. Always put your hair up. I'm telling you, unless you just like that hanging all over your face and getting all sweaty. I always put my hair up, either a ponytail or up in a bun, and then I just put this headband on. Why do I do this? You can tell you what, the headband catches the sweat. A lot of the sweat that I do that gets on my face and gets in my eyes when I'm trying to work, and it is from my head. So when I wear this sweatband, by the time I'm done, the sweatband is completely soaked, but my face does not have sweat dripping into my eyeballs. I mean, it's a small thing, but it's huge help. It keeps me from constantly touching my face, getting dirt all over it, but mostly it just keeps that sweat. It's a sweatband. That's what you use it for. You can use a sweatband, you can use a headband. That's what I use. The other thing is to always have with you water. Okay, oh no, someone's going to look at this and say, you drink bottled water, shame on you, right? Some people think you should do that. I'm going to tell you what. My water, I use most of my water, I get these sometimes. I also have a big jug that I use in the house that are reusable jugs, recyclable, and I use those a lot in the house and then put it in a plastic drinking thing, whatever. So I'm not always using these kind of bottles, but I'm going to tell you something. This plastic is recyclable, and I don't drink Coke, and I don't drink beer, and I don't drink pop. I don't drink hardly any juice even. I guess juice is good for you, but I'm just not into it much. I drink water pretty much all the time. And where I live, there's a lot of rust in our water here. You have got to use a water softener in your house. And so I do that, and then the water tastes kind of salty, and I don't like it. So that's why I buy water to drink, because it tastes better than the water coming through my water softener. That's my choice, and I'll stand by that choice. Water's good for you, even if it's in a plastic bottle. I don't care. I'm drinking this water. So there you go. I did a big off the topic, cold kind of thing, off the subject for people, because I know somebody's going to go, oh, you're drinking bottled water and you're wasting and you're polluting the earth with plastic. You know what? Get over it, okay? I'm trying to change my life one thing at a time. All right? One thing at a time. Don't be harsh. So, water. You got to bring water with you out in the garden all the time. I recommend, especially if you are overweight. If you're not overweight, you still need to bring it. Sorry that you're jiggling. The wind's blowing my camera around. It's crazy. It's a nice breeze, but it's blowing it around. Let me see if I can stabilize it a little. Let's try this. See if that'll help. Boom. So anyway, you need lots of water to drink when you're gardening. And I suggest, what I normally do is I drink water before I come out into the garden. I drink at least half of one of these, or like a 8-ounce glass of water before I come out, so you're hydrated before you start. And then I bring water with me in the garden. Gotta admit, I still do drink it from the hose, though. The hose isn't water softened, so I do drink from the hose sometimes too. When you've been out 15 minutes, start guzzling you some water. Drink lots of water when you're out working. That's going to make a big difference too. If you come out and work in the garden and you are as heavy as I am and you work for an hour and you haven't drank any water, it's not good for you. You can get a heat stroke easily. And even if you don't realize you're getting a heat stroke, or you're getting like this heat sickness, whatever you want to call it, there's been times I've come out and worked for like 2-3 hours, not had enough water, or done it first thing in the season when I haven't gotten accustomed to the heat. And then I go in the house, and by that evening I have chills, I'm freezing cold, and I feel sick to my stomach. And the whole next day I might feel sick to my stomach. And a lot of that has to do with not getting hydrated well enough. The other part is working for too long. So all those people who want to lose weight and work in your garden to do it, keep the time limit down. Don't go out there the first day and work for 3 hours. It's foolish. It just doesn't work well for you. It doesn't work well for me. So I would say, go out, work for 30 minutes, depending on how heavy you are, depending on how much you're used to moving. I am heavy, but I have a job that makes me on my feet quite a bit, so I am used to moving. But moving and bending as much as I do in the garden is not what I do at work. So it's extra work for me. So I might come out and work an hour and then go in and rest for a while. If I want to do more later that day, maybe I will. And I could try that. But honestly, once you get the garden in, after the initial stuff of getting it in, 1 hour a day should be able to upkeep your garden, or less than an hour a day, depending on what size your garden is. So if you want to join me and start a little movement here, gardening for weight loss, if you would like to join me and start your own vegetable garden, you can do it with small. You can start a way smaller than what mine is. Mine is pretty big, but I've had one for several years, and I didn't do it last summer, and that's one of the reasons I'm getting back into it. I want to do it this summer. I do have experience gardening, so I can do a bigger garden. If you're just starting, you know, get yourself a 4x4. Do one of those little square foot gardens. Get yourself an herb garden, you know, get yourself a little 4x4 raised bed and plant some lettuce out there, and plant a few carrots, and plant a tomato plant. If you can't do that, put a tomato plant outside in a pot to grow in out on your deck or on your balcony if you live in an apartment. You can put a tomato plant in a pot. You can put a few lettuce things in a pot, that lettuce that just grows up like romaine, and you can pull lettuce leaves off and it'll still keep growing all summer. Start growing some vegetables for yourself, for your health, and make a change in your life. That's what I'm going to do this summer, and I'm hoping that at the end of the summertime and into the fall, we will see a change in me. We will see a healthier me. We will see a smaller me. So have fun gardening.